in the history of Japan since its very existence. Um, if you know anything about Japan, especially about the history, what you should know is that Japan has never had a woman in power, ever, ever, ever. Even during the from the monarchy, they've never had shogun times. There's never been a woman that has led the country. Yeah, there may have been powerful women that you know had some influence in Japan, um, but there's never been a woman to lead this country. And we just found out yesterday that that a yo, what's up, Associated? That we just got a lady prime minister for the first time. So now she still has to go through the parliamentary process. She basically is has been elected the leader of her party, and it was down to her and the young guy Koizumi, who is the son of a former prime minister in Japan, Koizumi. So they had a runoff, and she won in the runoff, and so that's the big news, guys, in Japan. Big, 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 big news. My wife and I are pretty happy about it because I predicted this. I out of the five candidates, I was like, I think she's gonna win. Her father wanted her to win. We think it's going to be good for Japan because Japan really does need a slap in the face right now. Need somebody to wake their asses up. You know, I was getting sick of these old men getting up there fucking up the things. So we need a woman up in there. I'm not saying that a woman is better than a man. I'm just saying that to me, Japan needed this. If anybody needed this, Japan needed this because they need some sort of shot in the arm. This country is so down. The people are so down in the country right now, politically, and their self esteem is so low. Tourists are coming over here, running all over Japan, all Japanese. Thanks, brother. It's coming in. It's coming in, brother. Thanks, Gene. It's coming in, brother. So this country has been down. You got people out there working their asses off, not getting paid enough. They can't raise families. They can't have children because they don't have the money for it. Um, they can't live the life that they choose, that they think they need to be living. And I tell you, it's a big difference from when I first got here in '85. When I was stationed here in '85, I was stationed here in the Air Force from '85 to '92. The month I got here, the yen rate was at 250 yen to the dollar. And then there was that accord that they had with Reagan and them and the Japanese, because the Americans were crying the blues like they always seem to do about the trade deficit with Japan, because obviously Japan was making a lot better shit than Americans. And so, especially when it came to cars. And so they went ahead and made an agreement with the Europeans and the Americans. Okay, we're gonna make the yen stronger. And so the yen did get stronger. It got to the point to where it went all the way down to 120 yen to the buck at the end of the year. I was in the military, and that was a big shock to us because that means that what we were getting paid wasn't much anymore, right? So I watched Japanese from, say, that time, 85, and then I came back, and when I came back to Japan in 94 after I got out in 92, and then I came back in 94. So I would say from 85 to 97, I was in Japan all but 2 years during that time, right? So when I came back, I noticed that there was starting to be a change. The Japanese were in as confident as they were because the bubble had burst on them in '92, and then of course, they went through a string of politicians. Abe was the longest serving prime minister up to this point. He served from 12 to 20. We actually liked Abe. A lot of Japanese didn't like him, but I liked him. He must have been doing something right because he was there for 8 years. So this lady is a spinoff from Abe. But anyway, what I'm getting at too is that I watched Japanese lavish and luxury earlier in the '80s, mid to late '80s, when they were buying up property in the States. They were living nice, man, and I was like, damn, I wish I was in that situation. But I did have a thought in my mind at the time. I said, okay, what would happen if I was in their shoes and they were in my shoes, and now I'm in their shoes, And the big difference is I'm going to be able to stay in my condition because I've set it up that way, where they couldn't because they were basically just living off of borrowed time. They were borrowing too much money and then they ended up having to pay it all back, and rates went up on them, and they tried to lower the rates to help them out, and just things just got out of hand. So that's why Japan ended up where it's at now, where now many Japanese can't rely on single company employment like they used to. Back in the day, Japanese could work for one company all their life. The company would take care of them. They would get, loans to buy their homes, things like that, because it's like a guarantor, your company, right? So when you buy a house out here, if you don't have a company, you pretty much can't buy one unless you show that you have some solid income. For me, I got solid income, so I was able to buy it and build my home. But I know that the hair salon that my mom-in-law works for, because she's still doing hair salon. She's a good-looking 73-year-old woman, because she takes care of her hair, takes care of herself, and takes care of her clients. Where her owner, the owner of that hair salon, who used to cut the Empress and the Empress's hair, um, you know, um, he couldn't get a loan when he first got here. He could not get a loan from the bank, the very bank that approved me, but they said that they couldn't give me any loan because I didn't have my Edukin yet, so I had to go with another bank. Turned him down, but day one they approved me because of my income sources. You see what I'm saying? So that is a big difference. Now a lot of Japanese can't get home loans because they're not in the right situation with a company or whatnot. So let me just say, give a few shout outs to some brothers up in here. So yeah, they do, Zemo. You're right. You're exactly right, brother. They're looking for people to scapegoat. And it's foreigners. I know, yeah, Abe, I like Abe too. What's up? What's up, Vileo? What's going? What's up, Vileo? This is yeah from Vileo Studios. What's up, brother? Um, yeah, thanks, brothers, for getting up here. Yeah, I'm gonna start doing some more of these live videos, and I apologize for the last one I did. I was watching it, man. I noticed that I was shaking a lot. I was like, oh shit, I didn't want to do all that shaking, so that's why I'm trying to just stay in one spot. It's actually drizzling right now a little bit. I'm outside because I was in the middle of doing some things in the house, and I stepped outside as I do to look at my yard and see what kind of how much more work I got to do. Um, so I said, well, I'm out. I might as well just do a live right now, man, for the brothers. Um, so, but yeah, man, that's what's going on. We got that lady that's going to be coming up here by I think the 24th of October. We're going to know she's going to be. It's going to be official that she is the leader of Japan. And look, she's not the leader yet, but she is the leader of the largest party. They did lose a lot of seats during the last election, but they still are the largest of all the parties combined. So all they do is they just basically get out there and they just get enough votes from other parties. And basically what they do is, see, Japan is that they're so, you scratch my back, I scratch your back kind of situation where, okay, just like any other political situation. Okay, if you give me this, I'll vote for you. If you give me that, I'll vote for you. So trust me, she's going to be the prime minister. There's no other party that's going to be that because they don't have the numbers. And like, say if somebody was to get up there that only has a third of the numbers as they do, then they're going to have to get this big ass party to support their leader, which ain't going to happen because they already got the leader of the largest party. You see how that works? So just imagine a Republican saying, okay, well, fuck it, I'm going to give up these seats for you and make you the Democratic leader if I'm already in the majority. That ain't going to fucking happen. You know? So, yes, Maria Oliver, Hiroshima. Um, okay, so Vileo Studios asking if she anti-foreigner. She's a hardliner. Okay, she's a hardliner. There are going to be some works in there. I wouldn't say she's anti-foreigner. I'd have to look more into that, but I know she is a hardliner. And here's what I want to say too on that. Um, okay, like a cousin of mine, I had told her about Takaishi coming up. My cousin, she's a feminist. Of course, she lives in the States, but she's a good lady. She's married, but she's a feminist. And she made a comment. She said, well, women are more courageous than men when it comes to leadership. And I disagree with that. And I told her, no, I don't agree with that at all. I said, I would never say that men are more courageous than women. I would never make that kind of statement. I think that statement came out of her mouth because, she's living in the West and a lot of media sources are run by women now, especially black women. Most of the media in the United States that has anything to do with black people are run by black women. Oprah Winfrey and those women that spending their money, so they're going to give you their take on things, right? That's why when you see these articles out there talking about how bad it is for black women losing federal jobs, well, what about, and I always look at them and say, wait a minute, y'all ain't talking about the black men. What about the black men? We're losing jobs. You know, you need to talk about how it's affecting us. You know, so we have to, that's why I'm up here, because I'm up here to tell people, hey, it's coming from the black man's perspective. And from a man's perspective, when a woman says that to me, I would never say men are more courageous than women. I just came back to her because I like my cousin, and you know I don't want to get into any hard discussion with her. But my rebuttal was, well, I got some good leaders in mind too that were men. Tito of Yugoslavia, who unified Yugoslavia, was good. Mao Zedong was good when he was good with China to get the Communist Party started over there in China. You know, my distant ancestor Shaka Zulu, who I'm related to, based on my DNA, he was a good leader when he started this form of war, and he was a great leader in the Southern Africa. So, you know, you got to come back at them and you got to give them some examples. They may not even accept it because they haven't really valued us as men in years anyway. But, hey, what's up, Radhika? How you doing? Radhika, what's going on? Thanks for coming on the channel. So getting back to Takeichi, Takeichi, her name is Takeichi Sanae. She's a 64-year-old woman from Nara Prefecture, and she is no nonsense bullshit. She's no nonsense. She is not the feminist. She's not a feminist. She's a traditionalist. In fact, here is what I know she stands for. She's against same-sex marriage. You know, you know, which is opposite of what Kamala Harris would be doing, right? She's against same-sex marriage, which I'm in agreement with. I mean, some people may not agree with me on that, but that's my opinion, and I'm against same-sex marriage because I don't think it's really helping out the family unit per se. That's why we have a lot of problems in Japan right now. So she's against that. She's also against women keeping their maiden names when they get married. So there's a lot of women over here, not a lot, but some women are keeping their maiden names. Now, my wife, you know, her name in Japan is her maiden name, but she is going to change it to where she's going to have my name on there. The reason why she kept it, even though she's in the States, her name is my last name, is because she already had all her paperwork and her name and everything here when we moved back. And so to keep anything to you know, alleviate any problems that would have came up, she just kept her same last name. And then now that we got settled, she's going to change it to my name, which is, you know, but this is what this woman wants. So she's a traditionalist. She said that she is going to help women out. In other words, she's going to help women find better childcare because, as you know, in Japan, it's hard to get childcare here because there's not enough childcare providers in Japan. My daughter is not in the daycare. She's in a preschool, which is quite different. So daycare, the women just dropping the kids off and going to work. Preschool, you drop them off, they're going through curriculum, they have activities that they do. And then after that, they head into kindergarten, and then they go into first grade because they don't have the kindergarten in the first grade school here. In elementary school, it's in the Yochin that she goes to. So she'll be in that Yochin until she's 6 years old, and then she'll go to first grade. That's how they do it in Japan. So this woman, a lot of women in the West are probably like, yeah, celebrating, oh, Japan, now they got a woman, now we're good. No. It does not work that way. Women in Japan do not think like women in the West. I just want to reiterate that. Women in Japan do not think like women in the West. They are not weak. They are not soft. They are independent women, but they are traditionalists. And most women in Japan are traditionalists and they're feminine, and they respect the family unit. They respect the family unit. This woman definitely respects the family unit that the new prime minister we're going to be getting. So, I think she said it on the TV yesterday. You know, I'm not, you know, somebody asked, oh, how does it feel to be a woman? She said, well, look, I'm not up here to do the woman-man thing. I'm up here to run a country. I'm going to run the country based on my policies, based on what I think is going to be good for Japan. And she's not going to be a popular leader. She's going to be nice having a lady up there run because I think that's what Japan needs as far as the shot in the arm thing. But she's not going to be up there kissing up to the ladies. No, she is here, and this lady means business. She means business in Japan, and that's what they need. They need somebody to come in and kick somebody in the ass, and they also need somebody up there to smack Trump in his face, too, when he comes through and tries to intimidate Japan. Because he was intimidating the Shiba to the bone, even though the demand that she was sent up to do the trade deal with the states actually got the better deal. People don't realize this, but Japan came out better with that trade deal with Trump. So she's already saying, she already said yesterday, she said, well, I'm not worried about the trade deal because that's already signed. So if he comes back to me and he says, well, we're going to do this and do that, she's going to say, no, no, no. We already made an agreement and we're going to stick to that agreement. That's what this woman's saying. Another thing about her is, okay, Villia says she talking about making any changes to the tax rate. I mean, well, not yet. She hasn't mentioned anything about the taxes. Um, that's a good question because I know that we're paying a 10% consumption tax in Japan. So I don't know what's going to come out of that. I am going to be following more news and more things with her. I'm really kind of curious what kind of cabinet she's going to put together too. So I don't know. She hasn't gotten that deep into that. But all I know is that, she is going to be the kind of, I like her because I need somebody in Japan to not kiss Trump's ass. Because Japanese have a tendency to kiss Americans' ass, and that's the only thing that I don't like about the politicians here. They always seem to be bowing to America. My take on that, even though, but she's hawkish. She's a Chinese hawk, so she is going to build up that military in Japan. She is going to build up the Japanese military, which I go back and forth with that because I want Japan to be neutral like Switzerland is what I would prefer Japan to be, but that is not going to happen when you got a shitload of American military in Japan. And I mean, you can tell American to leave. You just have to, you can just let them know a year in advance that, hey, we want to end the security agreement. Great. But then what the fuck's China going to do if you just all of a sudden end that security agreement with America when you got Chinese tourists over here telling Japanese when they get mad at them when that one guy in Kyoto, the one Buddhist monk, told the Chinese man, "Hey, you're disrespecting my temple here," and this Chinese asshole told him, "Well, hey, I can do whatever I want to your country because we're gonna take your country over anyway." There ain't no way China's gonna take over Japan. That ain't gonna happen. They're not gonna get one motherfucking piece of grass over here. Hell, I'd go back in the service myself if that's the case. I do not want Chinese running Japan because they're gonna fuck this country up just like they fucked up China. So that ain't gonna happen. You know, come over here and all this beautiful environment we got, they be fucking this all up, cutting this down, cutting that down. I don't need that. And like I said, I got nothing against Chinese, but I don't like their fucking government, and I'm not gonna have the government over communist bastards over here running this place. That ain't gonna fucking happen. So, no, that's not real. But for him to say something like that was absurd. It was just absurd for him to even say, "Oh, we're gonna be running your country anyway." No, you're not. You know. But so yeah, she's a hawk. She's a hawk big time, man. She's definitely pro Japan. She is pro Japan. So immigration will probably take some. There'll be some challenges. Right now, the biggest thing that they are having an issue with is people buying. See, Japan has a liberal property purchase thing, meaning anybody can buy land in Japan. And they got this thing now, they're changing the law to where if you buy over 10,000 square meters of land, you have to tell the government, why are you buying that land? What are you getting it for? What do you need that land for? Because you got like up in Hokkaido, they said they had this Chinese company buy up all this land up there somewhere in Hokkaido, and they would get ready to do something that they weren't supposed to do with the land, that they didn't get authorized to do it. You don't need a motherfucker coming in here buying all this land next to you, then peeling the fucking rock quarry when they're not supposed to. It's basically what's happening. So they're looking at all these types of purchases, all these types of situations. And what's up, Zemo? And hello, beauty. Hello. Hello. Thanks for coming to the channel. I'm just giving everybody a shout out here. And so, oh, Mr. Kitano, hello. Thanks for coming on. Thank you. So, it's just one of those things where we cannot have China take over Japan. That will never happen. As long as I'm living too, I will never let a Chinese take over. Nobody, not just China, nobody will take over this country but Japan. This is Japan. And that's what people have to understand. In Japan, there's certain ways things are done certain way. I mean, we can't have tourists come over here disrespecting our country. We cannot. And I can say our country because I live here. We cannot have tourists coming over here disrespecting our country, foreigners getting away with bullshit that they shouldn't be getting away with, and also living or taking advantage of the country. Because a lot of foreigners come over here and they take advantage of Japan. They do. They take advantage of Japan. Whenever I see a um, a comment on YouTube about foreigners, is also I'm going to be on the other side when they're saying, "Oh, foreigners doing this, that, it's the other, they're not contributing." Well, I always come up and say, "Well, guys, I'm a contributor. I pay property taxes for the property I own. I had a home bill where I used 30 subcontractors on this home. Getting this home built, I used 30 subcontractors from kitchen countertops all the way to floors, to walls, to doors, to siding, to concrete people, piping, plumbing, electrician, air conditioning. I used 30 different some subcontractors. That means that I put 30 companies to work, and 30 companies were able to pay their people, and then to feed the people's kids. So I always tell people that I pay my health care every year for my family. So I'm a foreigner that contributes to Japan. So you know, I don't have any problem here. And my wife is Japanese. My children are Japanese and American, but they're Japanese. So there ain't a politician in Japan that would say, "Oh, you're not contributing to Japan," when, well, my wife's Japanese. So what does that mean? If my wife's living in a nice house, she's Japanese. Does that mean that I need to go too? You see what I'm saying? So that's always my comeback. So, oh, I'm at home. I'm at home. I'm on my property. This is my house. Beauty just asked me where I'm at. I'm at home here in Georgia City where I live in Niigata. 702 said people keep asking, is Japan anti-foreigner? Bro, it's a closed-off society. They're never going to be pro-immigrant or immigration friendly. What don't people understand about that? Well, okay, so that's a good point, 702. And so here's what I'm just going to say about that. I think right now, and I had this conversation with my wife, that Japan is in a transition period. And Japanese know that deep down inside, every Japanese person knows that they cannot be isolationists like they were under the Tokugawa shogunate. Because when they were isolationists, they got behind the world. When Perry showed up with those ships, it scared the shit out of Japanese. They realized, wait a minute, what the fuck? 1853, Perry shows up with these big, tall ships, and he basically said that if I don't talk to you people, I'm blowing shit up. Japanese had nothing against that. A samurai sword cannot fuck with a cannon right off a ship, right? So so what they did the right thing. They said, well, fuck it. We're gonna learn from all these people. We're gonna learn from the best around the world. And that's what they did. That's why Japan is so modern now, because they know that a lot of Europeans helped them out. See? So that is not the answer. Japan cannot turn inward. They know they can't turn inward, because if they turn inward, they're gonna fall further behind or fall behind. See what I'm saying? And they don't want that. Japanese do not want to be behind the rest of the world. They found that out, especially when it came to military. They found out what happens. So I just think that they are at a crossroads. And then Zemo says, but Japan does need immigrants. They just need to strictly vet them. Yes, they do. This is what I was going to say next. Yes, I believe that we do need immigrants, but we need to handle things better, if you will. That's what we need to do. We need to handle things better. I don't think that we need to stop immigration. We're only 3% immigrant in Japan. Only 3% of the residents here are foreigners, right? Which is compared to, say, the States are like 16, 17% in the US or more, right? Probably 20% with illegal immigrants still left over in the fold that are not getting counted. See, so that's pretty fucking high. Every fifth person, 1 out of 5 people walking down the street in the States is not from the States. So, yeah, we don't need to stop immigration. You need immigration. Immigration does help a nation, but I think even in the States, it helped the States all these years, even though immigrants are not good for black men, taking away jobs from black men. But if you'd have treated black men, if you'd have gave us what you were supposed to have given us when we freed ourselves, you wouldn't have to worry about that situation. See, and that's another story right there. But the only thing I can say on that is the reason why America's having so many problems right now is because they didn't pay us before what they owed us. They didn't pay my ancestors before. So now you're paying now. and it's going to cost you more now, which it is, with all your problems, your recessions, your food prices, your unhappy people. All that shit is starting to come to fray. See, because all this, the way they treated us blacks in the States with the redlining lamb and all this other bullshit, the way they treated us, they got so good at that that now they can treat anybody that way. So that's why you can't let that kind of treatment happen anywhere in your country, because if you're treating a group of people bad, it will eventually get up to everybody, because the system is getting used to treating people bad. You see what I'm saying? So it's gonna come out. It's like a big fucking rug. You keep shoveling shit under the rug and the shit keeps going up and up and up. Guess what happens to a rug? It starts to rise. And then before you know it, the rug is sitting on top of the shit. And the shit's all the way piled to the fucking ceiling. You see? So 702 just said something back to, what's up, Mergs? What's up, brother? Just said something back to 702. Said something back to Zemo. Japan is going supplement immigration with AIs, specifically robots. This is purely my observation, but it's based on knowledge I have from sources with multiple robotic companies here in Japan. Yes, that's going to happen. They are already starting to do what you call it, robotics at the convenience stores. So you can walk into a convenience store and it's just gonna scan your phone or whatever, and you buy and you leave, and nobody's in there but you and the products. See? So yeah, they're gonna start doing that, guys. They're gonna start doing that because we do have a labor shortage in Japan. I know because they still got work to do on a little bit of work to do on my property, like right under my garage in the front. I want the guy there's a 94-year-old guy that came out here and spread that concrete. I want him to redo it. So they're going to get another company to do it because he didn't do a good job. And I mean, I had nothing against him, but hey, I need somebody better, because if I look at my garage, you can't tell, but from the inside, when you're looking out when it's daylight, you can see like a little light come through. I don't want no light coming through. I told my wife, I said, I'm financing this, and I everything's got to be done right, everything. And she's like, yeah, but we got to wait. And I'm just like, well, we don't do that in America. And see, that's the thing, me getting used to Japan too. America, the way we do it is the loudest bird gets taken care of. The bird that sings all the time gets the attention. The bird that doesn't say shit don't get nothing. But she's in Japan. The way it works is, you tell them what the deal is, and they said, okay, we'll contact you when we get it figured out. That's how it works in Japan. So you have to be patient. I get that, but still, I'm also paying for this too. So there comes the American capitalist way is, wait a minute, but I'm financing my home. I'm paying for all of this work that was supposed to be done, so I need it done, and that's the way it works. And to me, in that case, the American way seems to get shit done when I need it done. So then 702 said, this is at least their plan. Whether it works or not is to be determined. Yes, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, so that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about today, man. We got the lady up here now. I will be doing some more live videos, just letting you guys know what else is going on with this transition. But I'm going to go ahead and shut this down. I really appreciate everybody getting up here on a live video. I'll talk to you brothers later. Thanks for watching. This is BSP. I'm out.